This is the basket that gave two Indiana Fever players two different milestones at the same time. Caitlin Clark's pass completed her fourth career triple-double, while Makayla Timpson's finish raised her to a career-high 15 points. The headline belonged to Clark: 26 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and another entry in a record book she has been rewriting since she entered the WNBA. But the 10th assist didn't exist until Timpson moved into the opening, caught the pass, and finished the possession. That turned the final basket into more than a piece of trivia. The play could have been nothing more than the closing line in Clark's latest historic box score. Instead, it revealed a connection Indiana has spent more than a year developing. The moment arrived on July 31st in Portland. Indiana was closing out a 112-98 road victory over the Fire. The Fever had controlled enough of the game that the final result was no longer the main source of tension. Clark had 26 points and 10 rebounds, but she remained one assist short of the triple-double. On Indiana's final scoring play, Clark handled the ball and found Timpson near the basket. Timpson converted. Clark received assist number 10, Timpson reached point number 15, and one possession completed both milestones. The official clip lasted 8 seconds. Its title told the entire statistical story: Clark's fourth career triple-double and Timpson's new career high. Within a day, that clip had approached 94,000 views. Most of the reactions stopped at Clark's line, which made sense. A 26-point triple-double deserved attention. Clark joined rare company again, and Indiana extended its winning streak to 5 games. The Fever also became the first WNBA team to score at least 100 points in 5 consecutive games. But focusing only on the triple-double removes the most useful part of the play. Assists are shared statistics disguised as individual ones. The passer receives the number, while somebody else has to recognize the space, catch the ball, and complete the possession. On this play, that player was Makayla Timpson. Timpson wasn't a celebrated lottery selection when Indiana drafted her in 2025. She remained available until the 19th pick, even after building one of the strongest defensive resumes in Florida State history. During her senior season, the 6'2" forward averaged 17.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, and just over 3 blocks. She set Florida State's single-season record with 103 blocks, then finished her college career as the program's leader with 1,094 rebounds. Those numbers identified her strengths. Timpson could cover ground, rebound outside her immediate area, protect the rim, and finish with her athleticism. None of that guaranteed that those skills would transfer immediately to Indiana. College production can tell a WNBA team what a player is capable of doing. It can't tell the team how quickly she'll perform those same jobs against stronger bodies, tighter spacing, and defenders who recognize an action before it develops. Timpson entered the league with the physical tools already visible. Indiana still had to determine which of those tools could survive every night. That distinction matters for a player drafted outside the first round. A star prospect may receive enough minutes to learn through mistakes. A reserve has to build trust in shorter appearances, where one late rotation or one missed screen can erase the value of a strong finish at the other end. Her rookie season made the adjustment clear. Timpson averaged 2.6 points and 1.8 rebounds. She had to learn how to defend WNBA spacing, make decisions at a faster speed, screen experienced guards, and find productive movement when the offense wasn't designed for her. The problem was never a lack of physical talent. It was converting that talent into actions her teammates could anticipate. Trust grows when the same decision produces the same movement. Clark has to know where Timpson will go when pressure arrives. Timpson has to understand where Clark expects the target to appear. Neither player can wait for the other to explain it after the defense has already closed the lane. A guard like Clark doesn't need every teammate to become a featured scorer. She needs them to read the same defensive movement she reads. If a second defender turns toward Clark, the opening appears somewhere else, and a teammate has to move before the defense can recover. That timing separates an available athlete from a dependable offensive partner. By July of 2026, Indiana had started seeing the difference. Timpson received her first career start against Seattle on July 17th. She played more than 32 minutes, scored 8 points, collected 9 rebounds, and helped Indiana survive a 110-107 game while Aaliyah Boston was unavailable. Clark dominated the headlines that night with 45 points and 10 assists. Still, when she was asked about Timpson afterward, Clark didn't describe the performance as a temporary response to an injury. She called Timpson probably the most athletic player I've ever played with. Clark then added that Timpson was scratching the surface. That assessment mattered because Clark also explained why the improvement was appearing. Timpson had been working, learning, and developing confidence. Stephanie White said Timpson had become a different player from the one Indiana drafted. White's description was specific. Timpson was learning to operate on the perimeter, screen, cut, and defend multiple positions. Her athleticism had always been visible. Her growing understanding of where to apply it was earning her a larger role. 5 days after the Seattle start, Timpson recorded 4 blocks in another game. 9 days after that, she produced the best scoring night of her WNBA career in Portland. She scored 15 points in a little more than 19 minutes and made 7 of her 8 field goal attempts. That efficiency didn't come from isolations or a sudden expansion of her shooting range. It came from movement, timing, and finishing close to the rim. Timpson explained it herself after the game. She credited being in my spots, cutting off the ball, and doing the little things. Her answer also revealed how Indiana's front court creates those openings. When Aaliyah Boston draws a double team, a second defender has to turn toward the ball. Timpson can move behind that defender. When Clark handles, defenders have to account for her pull-up range, her drive, and the passing lane at the same time. Every extra responsibility stretches the defense a little farther. The important word is timing. If Timpson cuts too soon, her defender travels with her and crowds the paint. If she waits too long, Clark's passing window disappears. The useful cut begins when the defender's attention shifts, then reaches the rim before that defender can turn back. That movement doesn't always produce an assist. Sometimes it clears space for Clark. Sometimes it forces a low defender to leave Boston. On another possession, it can give a shooter an extra fraction of a second because the defense has to protect the basket first. The action still has value even when Timpson never touches the ball. Clark's effect on a possession is often measured by the shot she takes or the final pass she delivers. Her larger influence begins before either event. A defender meets her high above the three-point line, another prepares to help, and the players behind those first 2 defenders have to choose between their assignments and the paint. That chain reaction creates short windows. Timpson's job is to arrive inside one of them. And that's when the final play becomes useful evidence. Clark's 10th assist wasn't a charitable statistic presented to a teammate. Timpson had to create a target and finish. Her 15th point wasn't an isolated individual achievement either. Clark had to recognize the opening and place the ball where the defense couldn't erase it. One player produced the pass, the other produced the finish. The record book separated the results, even though the basketball connected them. That separation shapes how the play is remembered. Clark's triple-double will appear in career totals, historical comparisons, and future broadcasts. Timpson's 15 points will appear as her personal high. A viewer scanning those records years later could miss that the 2 numbers were completed by the same read, pass, catch, and finish. The possession gives both achievements more context. Clark didn't reach 10 assists by accumulating empty passes, and Timpson didn't reach 15 through a detached scoring burst. Their milestones met because each player completed a different part of one basketball problem. There's a temptation to make the moment more dramatic than the evidence allows. Fans immediately wondered whether Timpson knew Clark needed one more assist. Others treated the basket as if Indiana had designed the possession to manufacture a triple-double. Clark, Timpson, and White haven't established either claim. The Fever may have known the situation, and Timpson may have understood it. But possibility isn't proof, and the play doesn't need an invented layer of intent to matter. The stronger interpretation is visible on the court. Indiana ran an action, Clark read the defense, and Timpson moved into scoring position. The pass arrived, and she completed it. There's another fair objection. A late basket in a game Indiana had under control can't prove that Clark and Timpson have become a major WNBA partnership. That's correct. Timpson isn't replacing Boston, who remains one of Indiana's central players and one of the reasons these cutting lanes exist. 15 points don't erase Timpson's limited rookie production. One efficient night doesn't settle her place in White's rotation. The case is narrower than that and stronger because of it. Timpson's progression now contains several connected pieces. She earned her first start and held up for more than 32 minutes. She produced a 4-block performance, then converted 7 of 8 shots in Portland. Clark publicly praised her work and athleticism before the career high occurred. White identified screening, cutting, perimeter play, and defensive versatility as areas of growth. Timpson then named positioning and off-ball movement as the reasons the Portland opportunities appeared. Those pieces don't prove the finished product. They show the development process. That difference protects the story from becoming another premature breakout claim. A breakout can describe one night. Development describes the work that made the night possible, along with the tests that still remain. Timpson's Portland line is useful because it sits inside a sequence, not because 15 points carries some magical threshold. For Indiana, that process carries practical value. Clark's most dangerous passes often punish defenders for sending extra pressure. The easier her teammates make those reads, the more expensive that pressure becomes. A stationary player allows the defense to guard two threats with one rotation. A well-timed cutter forces a decision. Follow the cutter, and Clark may keep the lane. Stay with Clark, and the cutter reaches the rim. Timpson adds a different physical tool to that decision. She can cover space quickly, elevate around the basket, and finish before a rotating defender gets organized. Her college rebounding and shot-blocking records also give White reasons to play her when she isn't scoring. That matters because young reserves rarely earn lasting minutes through one category. If Timpson only finishes Clark's passes, opponents can narrow her role. If she screens, cuts, rebounds, switches defensively, and protects the rim, White can use her in more combinations. The offensive connection then becomes a result of Timpson's complete role instead of the sole reason for it. It also gives Indiana flexibility without forcing an argument about replacing anyone. Boston can remain the central interior playmaker. Timpson can supply a different pace and athletic profile in reserve minutes or selected combinations. The value comes from adding another answer, not declaring that one front-court option has defeated another. For Clark, that extra answer changes the cost of defensive pressure. A team can send size toward her and live with the pass only when the receiving player fails to turn it into an advantage. Each clean Timpson finish makes that choice harder to repeat. Portland supplied a revealing setting for that progress. In the team's earlier meeting, the Fire pressured Clark with size and held her to 6 points during a 100-84 Indiana loss. In the rematch, Clark didn't respond by forcing a high volume of shots. She attempted only 9 field goals. She reached the free throw line repeatedly, collected 10 rebounds, and moved the ball often enough to finish with 10 assists. Indiana placed 6 scorers in double figures and reached 112 points. White emphasized Clark's ability to put the offense into flow. Boston described a team playing at pace, touching the paint, and generating expected shots for multiple players. Timpson's career high belongs inside that broader structure. Clark didn't have to score 40 for Indiana's offense to overwhelm Portland. Her pressure on the defense traveled through the lineup, and Timpson converted 7 of the 8 chances she took. The final assist captured that structure in one possession. It also showed why this story can't be reduced to Clark making another teammate better. That language treats Timpson as a passive beneficiary, and her own explanation rejects it. She had to learn the spots. She had to cut when the defense turned. She had to screen, rebound, defend, and build enough trust to remain on the floor. Clark could locate the opening because Timpson reached it. The emerging connection isn't a one-way gift. It's an agreement between 2 styles of play. That agreement has to survive possessions that don't end in highlights. Timpson still has to set the screen when she knows she may never receive the return pass. Clark still has to reward the correct movement even when another option looks more dramatic. Their connection becomes dependable when the ordinary decisions remain correct, not when every finish creates a record. Clark asks defenders questions from far beyond the three-point line. Timpson supplies answers near the basket. Clark can manipulate the first layer of coverage, and Timpson can punish the next layer when it arrives late. The next test isn't whether they reproduce 2 milestones on one basket. That combination may never happen again. The useful test is whether the underlying actions repeat. Timpson has to keep finding space when Clark is trapped. She has to turn screens into immediate cuts without crowding Boston. Her defensive positioning must remain strong enough to earn minutes when the shots aren't available. Then, when the defense chooses between Clark and a rolling or cutting Timpson, the pass has to keep arriving on time. And those details will determine whether the Portland play remains a pleasant statistical coincidence or becomes the first signature moment of a dependable partnership. For now, the evidence supports progress without demanding a grand conclusion. Timpson remains a developing second-year forward. Clark remains the engine of Indiana's offense. Boston and Kelsey Mitchell still command major defensive attention, and White still has rotation choices to make. But the final basket against Portland preserved a snapshot of those forces working together. Clark's scoring gravity moved the defense. Timpson's movement created the target. Clark delivered the ball, and Timpson finished. The scoreboard changed by 2 points, while 2 careers gained separate milestones. The 10th assist belonged to Clark. The 15th point belonged to Timpson. The play belonged to both.